I wanted to make some reaction videos on football videos, or actually just videos on football and sports in general. But in order to do so, I would find it weird if I released one without telling you the background story with my relationship to football. It's the history slash however you want to call it, the history and relationship with football is quite big for me. I don't think that I ever mentioned it in my videos, but I used to train a lot of different sports. And I was really into a lot of different sports. Tennis, judo, football, fitness, badminton, volleyball, a bit of kickboxing on the side, all kinds of stuff that I was really into. In the beginning, I would do like 3 or 4 sports during the week. So I was like training 4 different sports at the same time. So I was non-stop at some kind of training field, training some kind of sport. But as I grew older, school took up more time, so I had to choose for one sport, and I decided to choose football as my main sport. As I told in one of my older videos, I have a big life story to say so, and it wasn't always easy, and it still isn't easy, but so I want to continue on that and show you guys how football helps with your mental state, or actually any sport helps with your mental state. I didn't speak the Dutch language, bullying, yada yada yada, you get the point. But this is where football steps in, because within the football team, or on the pitch to say so, it didn't matter that you didn't know the language. It mattered that you knew how to play the game and that you knew certain words to pass the ball, to communicate also without words, so non-verbally. I used to train 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the weather, depending on in which team I was playing at the time, but at least 2 times and sometimes even 4 or 5 times a week. So it was usually 3, but at least 2. Besides the trainings, we had a game on every Saturday. So every Saturday we had a game, and during the week you have 2 or 3 trainings, and that all next to school. So it consumed a large part of my life slash time. I started very young. I think I was 7, almost 8 years old when I started playing football. So that's a long time ago. I'm almost 24 right now. Friends that I made during these first years, because we were a beginners team to say so. You were rated when you came onto the club based on your skill. So you had to play with other people who were just going to start with football, and then they would look at your skill, and based on your skill you would get a certain team. So some people who were already like playing pretty good football without even training football, they were already placed in higher teams. So the teams that got formed there were basically the foundation of all the friends that I have today, and also the friends which I made on the pitch but also off the pitch, because those same friends went to school with me. Those friends were my teammates, ended up going to the same school as I was going to. They ended up being my friends for life, because the people who were formed in that team at that time are still my friends till this day, believe it or not. Talking 15 years later, something like this, plus minus 15 years later, we're still the same friends, and it was quite impressive to say so. So it helped me get friends, it helped me to socialize, and during those things, I was also being kept fit. It also cleared up your mind, because when you're training and playing a football match, you're not thinking about anything else except for the football match. So all the shit that's going on in your life just fades away. After a while, I think it was like 3 years? Yeah, after 2.5, 3 years, we started playing on higher levels, as in we were moving up the ranks really fast with the team that I was in at the time, and there was much potential in our team. We went over to play matches in England, in Germany, in Belgium, and we did tournaments in all those countries, so we were actually starting to travel internationally to play football. It wasn't often, but it was enough for a small group of kids living in a random village in the Netherlands to move to play football internationally with other kids, and to play on a higher level in the Dutch competitions, to say. All the things that I can remember from me being a kid, from besides all the bad shit and all the worst stuff, is all related to football and those people that were in my team. So the fact that those memories lasted, and those memories are the highlights that I can remember, already tells how much sports can mean to a person. To say sports is just running behind a ball, football, like, no, it's way more than that. especially when it comes to younger kids, as I was myself. And as the years progressed, some of our teammates moved on to the best teams in the club, so the top players, to say so. But most of us, let's say 90% of us, stayed in the same team. However, there's a very dark side to this story, and this is where my complete love for football started to decrease and to actually affect me negatively on a daily basis. Well, on a daily basis sounds a bit weird. Let's say that it was just on my mind the entire time, because I always looked forward to the training, and now when I looked forward to the training, I was thinking about all those other things that were going on, which were our coach retired, one of our oldest coaches who taught us a lot and who never ever looked at us differently for having a different skin color or having a other last name. He was literally treating us the most equal you can be treated by someone, and it was such an honest and fair man. And I still see him sometimes driving his bike around in the village that I live in. But he retired as a coach. And also the staff from the club that was being ran at the time were older people who were getting replaced by newer people. The people who are running the football club are not getting paid. They were looking for volunteers. And who's going to volunteer on a football club? Of course, the parents from certain people who are playing football at the club. Suddenly, me and 2 other teammates were being downgraded into teams. We were put in the lowest team. There was a newly created team for people who just started playing football at the age of, I think it was 14, 15. So we've been playing for years already, and we already traveled internationally to play football. Some of us already went to the top team of the club, but we all of a sudden were dragged out and put into the lowest tier. And this is where everything started. And it all started after the parents of certain people took over the club, and coaches got replaced, or trainers got replaced, everyone got replaced by the newer generation. And it's so strange. After all those years, a certain team is this team that has been together for so many years and could play without verbal communication because we were so used to each other, and the play styles and the running lines, we were training non-stop together. So it was really weird that all of a sudden we got separated completely, all of us. Because other people were also moved to other teams a bit higher up, or also one down. And it was really, really weird, isn't it? Especially after all that change. When I and the other people who were placed in the lowest team started asking questions, they said, yeah, it's for one season in order to pull up the people who just started playing football, to compensate for them, for the skill, for the knowledge that we had, and to pull them up on a certain level, for a certain standard. So we were all like, yeah, not really what we're looking for, but I guess we understand, so we agree, you know, we're kids. But playing with the newcomers was really, really frustrating. When you know that you've played on like this level, and all of a sudden you're playing on that level, and you have people, you know, you just can see that they're not made for football, no offense, but from certain people you can already tell within one match if they can have football potential or not. And looking at that, it just made my blood pressure rise, and the fact that we're losing, conceding goals that we shouldn't be conceding, I was just frustrated the entire season long. Of frustration, we asked, can we go back to our team now, to our own level? And then they told us, no, you're not gonna be placed back in your old team because the places have been taken by now. And we were like, what? Those are our spots? Yeah, and then you find out that from certain people who took over the club or actually volunteered to run the club, their kids started playing in the teams that we used to play. Yeah, exactly. But they said that if we finished another season, that there would be that the spots will be free again, and we could return to our old team. Well, old team, it was separated already, but there was still like 40% left of the team. And we really wanted to go back to stick as much to the people that we knew from the beginning as possible. So we agreed for another year. Finished the second year of frustration with the newcomers, and we're told, nope, still not going back. And then when the other 2 guys, they just let it go, and they just wanted to play football, and they were kind of done with it. And I wasn't. I went back and I asked, what's the reason you're not placing me and my teammates back in the team that was been together for almost 6 years before you pulled it apart? They told us that we were not good enough. We played internationally with a team together. No one got divided or separated until the new mommies and daddies came in, and all of a sudden we're not good enough. Yet there were 3 people, our spots, playing in a team which is a bit higher, fully retarded. Like literally the worst players you could see. You could see on the pitch that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were playing football because they did meet the level. So I think the level, or let's say the level that you need to had, was the level of sucking dick from the fucking people who were on top. So that just got me pissed off really well. So what happened was I got contacted without asking for it. My old coach contacted me because I was making so much problems about this, and I was really saying that, you know, this is all connections and mommies and daddies going on in the club right now and not based on skill, which really places you in a higher team. And that caused a lot of problems within the club because I was emailing it, I was telling it to other players, I was telling it to my parents, were telling it to their parents. So there were a lot of people who started talking. Then my old coach contacts me and he says, Dino, you're a great footballer. It's not about football anymore, it's about your last name and how involved your parents are. The club has changed. After this, I was so pissed off, I quit football. After 11 years of playing football, I quit football. And it was probably the hardest decision in my life at the time. For my age, it was a very big deal since it was my life for, let's say, 50%, if not more. Watching football on TV, hearing the stories from my other friends who were still playing, not all of them, a couple more quit at the same time as I did, just really made me miss football. It just didn't feel right. It wasn't the way I should have quit the sport. So I started Googling and I found a city club nearby, and I did some research. Let's say city club, it's from a bigger part of a bigger city, to say so. And I started, I sent in my application that I want to start football again. They had to transfer some files and some other stuff from my old club because you cannot just transfer between clubs within 2 years after you quit. You really need to have permission and blah 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 from your old club. I needed to call my old coach and he fixed that for me and gave me some supporting pep talks, to say so, because he really saw that I had a passion for the sport and that I was doing this that I couldn't let go, that I needed to get back on the field, and he understood that and really helped me out. So that man is a true legend. If he's ever gonna watch this video, you are a legend. Problem was, I hadn't touched the ball in over a year, so I needed to get fit. Bought new equipment for the summer, and during the entire summer holiday in Bosnia, I trained like an animal. Doing endurance trainings, all that kind of stuff in the middle of the day when it was at 35 degrees outside. Bringing water with me, making myself wet, and constantly keep training. I hired a small football pitch in the town that I live in Bosnia, and I went to do shooting exercises, dribbling exercises, ball control exercises, everything again over and again, like I used to train before I quit. So after the summer, I had to do 2 trainings with the second highest team of the club, and the coaches were watching me, and after the 2 trainings they said, you're not 100% in shape, but we see that you can play football, and we see that you're pretty fit already, so we're gonna let you into the team. So I was immediately accepted in the second highest team of the club after 2 training sessions, while my club, my old club, was telling me for 3 years that I'm not good enough to move up back to my original team from the lowest team. But this was just too much bullshit. I continued working my ass off, but I just noticed that I was having a hard time breathing for some reason. It was really weird because I never experienced it before, and because I played football on such a high level, I was not used to it. I had great endurance and power. So I was very weirdly surprised. I thought it might have to do with the cardio exercise that I was not 100% fit, but I'll come back to that later. I earned my spot and was allowed to play the entire season as a base player. So I was really happy playing football again, playing with people who accepted me. They saw how hard I worked. They saw how rough I could be on the field because I was placed At that time I was playing as a defender, but I played as an attacker, as a midfielder, even as a goalie throughout the year. So I played on basically every position on the field. I used to be very good with two legs, but after a while I was only good with my right leg. Left was really, let's say, fucked. But at the end of the season, I just still felt this weird breathing thing, so I went to the hospital to check it out, and they diagnosed me with asthma, and with pretty heavy asthma. Because at the time I was in puberty, you can develop asthma, you can grow over it, but I never did. It only got worse throughout the years. Yeah, really sad, really stupid. It didn't stop me for that one season. I was still just going for it. It troubled me, but I just kept going for it. In the second year, it was going a bit downhill since my endurance got like smaller and smaller because of the asthma, as it progressed in severity, to say so, and I was just getting worse and worse. But I still played a lot for the second year, and then the third year is when everything went to shit. At this point in the third year, I could play only 45 minutes on the pitch on my full power, to say so, and if I went on for longer, I literally ran myself knockout on the field. I couldn't breathe, I was having asthma attacks, and it happened 3 times that I just went knockout on the field because I couldn't breathe anymore. And I was just so focused and so in love with the sport that I just kept pushing that I could actually just knock myself out or actually kill myself, get brain damage, lacking oxygen and that kind of stuff. So it was not smart, but it was really shit. It was not my last name stopping me to play football, but it was my own body stopping me to continue my football journey. I wanted to continue playing so bad. The coaches could see it because I would run myself knockout on the field, but they sat me down and they said, hey man, we see that you really love the sport. We see how much effort you're putting into this, but this is not gonna work. It's better for you and for your body, for your health, as for us as a team, for you to quit. They didn't want to see me die on the field because of a lack of oxygen to my brains. So I played as much as my body allowed me to finish the season, and then I had to quit. It was, again, not easy, but I remember it like it was yesterday, to say. Today it's something I really miss in my life, and I really want to come back to football once again, somewhere in my life, at some point, and in some form. What form, I don't know, but it will come back at some point. Maybe as a trainer or as a coach for my own kids, who knows. I was already older, my body wasn't working with me, so it was already too late to make a career out of football, and I accepted that and focused on school, went on with school, and quit football after 14 years of playing. 14 and a half actually. Years of playing football. My last game was on a tournament, and my coaches said that I could pick any position I wanted to play in for the last 15 minutes, and I got the last 15 minutes as a midfielder, scored a goal on my last match, and also gave an assist on my last match as a central midfielder. For those last 15 minutes, I literally felt like Ronaldo on the field, or like a Messi on the field. It's like one of those big stars having the best time of his life and performing perfectly. Minutes before the end of the game, the coaches called me to the sidelines. The people who were there knew what was going on. The parents, the coaches, the players, and they gave me my last applause, to say so. And even on the speakers of the football field, they said like, thank you for what you've done, thank you for your passion for the club and for football, and we may see you in the future. So it was I'm getting goosebumps from it. It's just one of the, I think, the most impressive days and most weird days at the same time in my life ever. I did remain a big fan of the sport. I joined the BH Fanaticos, which is a Bosnian ultra group for the national team. So not a certain club, but a national team. So Bosnia has like really a big ultra scene when it comes to the national team. When they go for away games, qualifiers, World Cup, Euro Cup, you name it. And there's thousands of people coming to the away match, die hard singing, flares going, everything going. So I joined this group. And I was a member for 6 years until a couple of months ago when I decided to also leave this group because of personal reasons and other reasons that I don't want to mention in this video. But it was also great to have such a big bond of group of people who love the sport as much as I did at the time. Still be near a football field in order to get rid of all the frustration is just very, I don't know, it's just, I can't describe it if you're not into football, if you don't have the passion and you don't know what football can mean to a person. I hope you guys liked this story. I hope you realized that football was a big part of my life and it helped me out in many ways and it helps out other people in many ways. It's important to know before you comment some stupid shit about you don't know anything about football, blah 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 blah, because I do. Just keep that one in mind. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment why you are passionate about football, and I see you in the next video. Ciao.
Perfect.